welcome to the Detroit Lions Live Pure Auto Insurance post-game show, Week 14 at Soldier Field in Chicago, Illinois. Lions 6-0 versus teams under 500, and that streak snaps today. Lions fall to the Bears 28-13 is the final. Lions fall to 9-4 on the season. Those Bears improve to 5-8 alongside the Super Bowl champ Lomas Brown. I'm Dannie Rogers. Woo, when you look at this game, a lot of self-inflicted
Yes,
wounds.
Danny.
8 penalties is what jumps out to me first. What jumps out to you, Lomas?
Yeah, Danny, I have to say the 8 penalties too. You can't go into games like this, especially divisional games, especially rival games, especially with a team you just faced a couple of weeks ago. You can't go in and have these self-inflicted wounds, and you are so right about that. It hurt us. It kept us behind the chains. It just did so many things to disturb our offense today. It just wasn't good.
You have to mention these turnovers as well. That's not what stuck out to me first off bat, Lomas, because Detroit has proven they can win when they turn the ball over, but that wasn't the case today. 3 more turnovers being tallied under Jared Goff's name, 2 interceptions. Wow. Trouble with the snap exchange there in the second half, but you take a look at the rushing yards. Detroit still able to put up 140 against the #1 rush defense in the league. Just 127 passing yards. Talk about 3 turnovers. Time of possession, Detroit also beat in that realm as well. So you take a look at a lot of these stats. Josh Reynolds, leading receiver today there with 44 yards, 3 receptions. That makes me wonder, where is Amon-Ra St. Brown in the mix?
Oh, my God, Danny, we were saying that. And this is almost just like the second week in a row that you really hadn't gotten the production from Amon-Ra St. Brown. And not to just say it's his fault. I mean, the ball has to get to him. So are we looking for him? Is he being double teamed? I know the defenses are paying more and more attention to him, but we got to figure out ways of being able to continue to get this young man open, because, Danny, he makes that offense go. I know I talked about David Montgomery, but again, later in this year, Amon-Ra St. Brown has been the guy that Jared Goff seems to be looking for, along with Sam Laporta. But Amon-Ra just does something to Jared to just calm him down. We got to keep him involved in our game plan.
I have a feeling head coach Dan Campbell will have similar sentiments as well. Let's hear from the head coach standing by at the podium.
Played hard, and they played an undisciplined game over there. And, we knew that was a good team. That's a talented team. They're playing good football, and we knew we had to play well, and we did not play well enough. So, that's credit to them. And that's a tough pill to swallow, but it is what it is. I thought we played hard. I thought we did some really good things at times, but honestly, it was the discipline. I mean, the penalties cost us today, and that's really the story of the game. That's the story of the game. Questions?
We keep talking about this, play your best football in December. When you are winning games, they're tough, they're close.
Yeah.
You're getting, out-executed in a lot of areas. What is your level of concern?
And look, had we won that game, I would have told you, man, we played good ball. But since we lost that game by 2 scores, obviously it's not good, So the discipline, that's the biggest thing. Man, early in that game, Fields running around, he got us again a couple of times, and then we settled in on defense. And I thought we played pretty good. Second half, we got put in some tough spots. But all in all, we just couldn't score enough points either.
Offensively, 61 yards in the second half. I know you got to watch the film, but just what were you guys unable to do offensively?
Yeah, penalties killed us. Penalty and a turnover. We get there and we have a penalty that sets us back 1st and 15. And look, you get in this type of game with that type of win, and you don't want to be living in these passing downs, these 2nd and longs, 3rd and longs, and that's kind of where we end up having to function, because we weren't good enough on some of our first down efficiency. That's where we've been good, and so that's tough, man. It's asking a lot. And look, I thought we protected well today. I did. I thought we protected. It's the nature of that type of weather. If you're trying to, you got a passing game like ours, you're trying to play with timing and rhythm. It's not the easiest thing to do. But honestly, it was. I just go back to that. We can go through all these numbers you want. It was the discipline part of it. Turn a ball over down there in the red zone off a snap. I mean, the minute we make some hay, then we have a huge penalty that costs us, and it's too hard to overcome in this environment.
Why do you think that sloppiness has showed up of late? Because it wasn't an issue early on, some of the penalties or turnovers.
I guess it was our day. You know, we had double the penalties they had. So.
And specifically, your thoughts on the one that wasn't called, I guess, the intentional grounding.
I don't want to answer that. I don't. I have no answer to that.
Coach, when you talk about discipline, what can you do, or is it players, is it coaching staff, to help with that discipline aspect? What areas can you help them improve?
Yeah, you know what? I need to push it a little bit more. I'm just going to need to be a little more irritable, which I can do that.
Dan, what's the frustration level when I think it was like 12:28 left in the fourth quarter, 4th and 1, you guys had a heavy package out there.
Mm-hmm.
4th and 1, couldn't even get that yard. I know that you prided yourself on toughness being kind of the calling card of this team. How disappointing is it when you guys can't get that 1 yard anymore like you were early on in the season?
Yeah, look, well, of course it's frustrating, you know, with where we were at. But that was, and look, we knew they were going to give us something every once in a while that coming off a bye week, and that was an unscouted look, you know. They gave us a curveball, and we didn't handle it well, and they got us, you know. So, yeah, it does hurt when you're not able to convert on that short yardage play,
Yeah,
you know.
You don't want to. I'm sorry if you were still going.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying. I didn't mean to. Look, I'm not upset with you. I'm just frustrated about some of that stuff, but it's ultimately we didn't do enough today.
You know, I know you don't want to comment on the grounding itself, but that sequence, right? You had him in 3rd and 11, whatever happened on that play, and then the 4th down, Hutchinson jumps offside, they hit you on the 1.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like maybe they were trying to get an offsides penalty. What's the coaching point there? What do you think?
Coaching point is discipline.
Same thing.
It's discipline. I mean, across the board, and that's why I bring that up. Man, we've been a disciplined team, and we just weren't enough today, and they were, and ultimately we played their game. You know, we never really got to play our game. Into the second quarter, we did a little bit, and so when you keep them, they're allowed to do what they want to do. As a team, then, you know, that serves them well. You know, that's how they need to be able to play, and they're very good at it, and we never took them out of it.
When you mention discipline, beyond the penalties, other areas such as maintaining rush integrity, rushing the quarterback, secondary play, is it all over, or are you committing on penalties?
It's all over. Yeah, penalties are certainly a huge part of that, but it's all over.
We saw some personnel changes, some expected, some unexpected today defensively. You'd mentioned Jerem was going to get some more linebacker play. We also saw rotation at the cornerback position.
Yeah.
Saw Melifano in there. You know, I guess early impressions of how that worked and how much maybe more changes are coming to get this thing back on track.
Yeah, I need to see the tape. I felt like there was some good by all those guys that played, but you know, I won't know. I won't know enough until I watch everything for myself. But look, our guys know. We're always looking. Man, guys are always competing here, you know. And it's the same thing, though. I'm not in panic mode. I'm not losing confidence. Man, we're good. We got 4 to go here, and all we got to do is get our discipline back and continue to fight like we fight. And look, it wasn't our day today, man. We didn't handle it, and you know, when you do that to yourself against a good team, that's what happens. And this is a good team, so we'll clean it up and move on. That's what competitors do. That's what good teams do.
And despite the discipline and focus issues, you still start the third quarter up 3. You can't really get going. I don't remember that there was a penalty on that first 3 and out. Is there something about these third quarters where there's kind of an issue, especially offensively?
Yeah, we just, you know, we hadn't been able to get going, you know, and we've changed. We've done a lot of different things. We've changed what we're running, how we're going to run it, what we're doing, who we're trying to get the ball to, you know, and we fizzled out there. But we've always been able to get it going by late 3rd or early 4th. You know, we've traditionally been a pretty good first quarter, fourth quarter team, and you know, and I would much rather be a good fourth quarter team than a third quarter team, but that didn't even show up today. So, yeah, I mean, look, we certainly got to be better. That would have helped us today. You know, you're up 3, third quarter, you got the ball, you got a chance to really put a lot of pressure on them. We thought we were going to be able to do that, and we didn't do it. You know, we couldn't do it.
You said not panic, of course, but do you see some troubling trends of the last few games? You guys haven't been as sharp as you were the first half of the season.
I don't feel like there's things going on that are abnormal. You know, like, man, we are in week, what is this? 14. We're in week 14. So at this point, everything's out of the bag. For the most part, you kind of got a pretty good idea of what you like to do, what you want to do. You've gone through really 3 cycles now of self-scout or scouting an opponent. You know, here's what they look like first 4 weeks, next 4 weeks, and then here we are and by then you've got a pretty good idea. And we all play that. You know, we do that against our opponents like they do it against us. And so there's not going to be anything easy about I never assume we're going to go into these games. It's like, well, yeah, we're going to win and we're going to win by 30. Like, that's not the league. The point is we got to win these games. You just win, baby. Just win. And we didn't do enough to win today. And the idea was to have one more point than this opponent today, and we couldn't do that. So, look, I know that everybody's trying to grasp straws like, what are we? What is this? I'm not worried. I know exactly what we are. We're a team that'll fight, and we got to do things right. Because any little mistake, man, it throws us off now. That's just the type of team we are. And but we got plenty here. We got plenty, and we do things right. We're pretty damn good. So we'll get it cleaned up, man. We'll move on.
So you think you're the same team as you were early in the season? Just the circumstances have changed.
Yeah.
What is the balance between not panicking and needing to tap into that angrier version or more irritable version of yourself?
No, I'm not going to change who I am. I just sometimes I need to apply pressure in different areas, and that's fine. I can do that. You know, but hey, this is a league, man. We're still in December. That's what this is all about. And you know, it's like I said, we got a pretty resilient team here, and we'll bounce back, man. It was a loss, and it stings. Nobody feels worse about it than those guys do, and the coaches. I mean, we all feel it. And this is hard. It's a hard pill to swallow, but the guys we got, it only motivates you to want to move on and get a win. That's what it does. So, all right.
Just more on the Fields touchdown. What was that?
Saint, great game. Is that the best catch you've ever made?
Actually, there was one better.
When? The Chicago game?
Minnesota?
No, getting Cure Auto Insurance.
Are you for real?
Seriously, when I got here in Michigan, car insurance was the worst. But saving up to 40% by switching to Cure was my best catch.
Cure Auto Insurance. Drive well.
Detroit Lions Live is brought to you by Cure Auto Insurance. Log on to cure.com to see how you can save. Welcome back to Detroit Lions Live Postgame Show. That's Lomas Brown. I'm Dannie Rogers. You just heard from head coach Dan Campbell speak. A few things stuck out to me. Look, he said he'd rather have a better fourth quarter than, a worse third quarter. He'd rather be playing his best ball in that frame that he really needs it. Let's take a look and recap the third and fourth quarter for these Detroit Lions in terms of possessions. Third quarter, punt, fumble. Fourth quarter, turnover on downs, interception. What stuck out to you? What tug at your heartstrings the most in that second half?
Danny, I think the thing for me is that the second half problems have been a problem for us all year long. We've been talking about this for games, about how we come out, making adjustments coming out at halftime. Today, we didn't do that. Again, it's something that's been hurting us. Chicago took advantage of it. They went down, they put up points. We struggled on the offensive side of the ball. They put our defense in the position of having to play a lot more plays than they normally do. And in the end, they put up more points than us. So, Danny, we got to do something about the second halves of these games, or we're going to continue to have some of the same problems we've been seeing lately.
Detroit completely shut out of the second half, not even a field goal, which hasn't happened yet so far this season. Let's talk about the run game. With that run game was going in the first half, this Detroit Lions offense was clicking. 134 of them coming in the first half. So a big drop-off in the second half. You take a look at David Montgomery, who returned back home, a place he once called home. He was drafted to the Chicago Bears, spent the last 4 seasons here, 10 carries on the day for 66 rushing yards. He was split between the first and second half, so he was able to stay consistent, 6.6 yards per carry, which is always very impressive. Montgomery wasn't punching in the game-winning touchdown, so his performance, doesn't really match up to what it was 3 weeks ago in Week 11 against this team.
No, that's true, Danny. And the thing I would have liked to see more was more carries. Again, you look at the 6.8 yards or 6.6 yards per carry. That is so great in the NFL. So to me, I wish that could have been 15, 20 carries for David Montgomery because, I think he makes a difference. I think he would have settled down the offense. But the offense just never seemed to get clicking today. It was always something. Either it was self-inflicted wounds that we created, or it was mental errors, it was penalties. It was just something all game long that kept our offense from really executing and moving the way we needed to move to keep this Chicago Bear team, at bay.
It was all rookie Jahmyr Gibbs in the first half. That's where he ran all of his rushing yards, 66 of them once again. So for Montgomery and Gibbs, same amount of yards. Gibbs getting one more carry than Montgomery today, so 11 carries on the day. So I'm interested for you to break this down a little bit more, LB, on how you get Montgomery more carries when Gibbs is being just as productive. But taking a look at the rest of Gibbs' stats, longest rush on the day for 36 yards, and he got a touchdown. So that's why Gibbs is our player of the game. Like I mentioned, 1 yard in the second half. He wasn't able to make it consistent, but how impactful is Gibbs when he does get the ball?
Hey, very impactful, Danny. And the thing about it with him, like you were saying, well, how do you do it when you give David Montgomery 10 carries and you split it with Jahmyr Gibbs and give him 11 carries? Well, what you do, Danny, is you try to get the ball in Jahmyr's hands more with the pass. You use him in the passing game. That's the way you can use this dynamic weapon that we have in Jahmyr Gibbs. You have to be able to get the ball in his hands as much as he can, either running the ball, passing the ball, but we have to get it because this guy is so dynamic. We know he's our home run hitter. We just have to get him out in space and let him do what he does. Again, David Montgomery is a nice compliment to him, but that guy right there, he can make some special things happen if we could get him open.
Gibbs, 3 receptions for 16 yards on the day in the air, so not totally productive in the pass game like you would like to see him, LB. But you talk about this run game, and we say it wasn't able to stay consistent in the second half. How much is that on this offensive line, which did have its 9th different combination on the season today, Danny, with Graham Glasgow in there at center and then Coyote Awasika getting the nod at right guard?
Great point, Danny. It really is. Look, the offensive line is all about chemistry. How do you get chemistry? You get chemistry from guys practicing with each other. You get chemistry from guys playing with each other. When you have all these lineup changes that we've had to have because of health, because of whatever, it's really hard to get that chemistry up front. So again, it's all about us being able to get those guys healthy. That's the one thing we got to do, which is hard to do at this point in the year. If we could get those guys healthy, get them practicing, get them on the same page, I think you'll see our offense get better and better. But that's been one of our biggest problems on the offensive line this year.
Talking about one of the weapons in this offense, wide receiver Josh Reynolds. We've dubbed him as Jared Goff's security blanket. He hasn't been getting a ton of action there in the pass game as of late. It's been a little bit quiet, but his touchdown really put some more energy into this Detroit Lions team there in the first half. What did you see from him today?
Well, Danny, to me, it's all about timing. It's when these big plays happen. Josh, like you say, he don't get a lot of catches. He doesn't get a lot of targets, but it's when he gets them that counts. He always seems to be big situations that he comes up in, or big situations when we need him to make a play, and he's able to do it. So it's not the amount that he's getting, but it's the quality of of when he's getting these catches or when he's making these big plays for us. I think that's been helping us and been helping Jared Goff too.
LB, you hit the nail on the head. In the last 3 games, Josh Reynolds has only had 4 catches. You want to know how many touchdowns?
How many?
2.
you go.
50% of the
There you
time,
go.
Josh Reynolds is going to be in the end zone when he catches the ball.
I like that,
We
Danny.
like that.
And that's impactful. That's what we need, and we need more of that from these guys.
Let's talk about QB1, Jared Goff. We knew Chicago was stingy coming into this one. 8 takeaways in the last 2 games. Well, they can add 3 more to that total. 11 in the last 3. Jared Goff not having his best day. There you see a completion percentage, 57%. That may be his lowest of the season. 161 yards on the day, just 4.6 yards on average every time he threw the ball. That is really staggering. What sticks out to you the most, LB?
Well, you know what, Danny? It's just, it's what Jared is seeing now. You know, it's just some of the passes, you don't know whether it's miscommunication between him and the receivers. You don't know whether it's Jared not seeing things. It's just been so strange to watch the miscommunication between him and his receivers, especially when they were so good in the year being on the same page. I think it's something that Jared and them are going to have to go back and kind of remedy this. They really going to have to look at film and find out what the true problem has been over the last couple of weeks, because, again, this miscommunication has been really bad between our receiver and our quarterback. And it's something that it's been glaring for us too, especially over the last 3 to 4 weeks.
57% completion percentage is the lowest for Goff on the season. We're still waiting for QB1 to get to the podium, but Goff was 8-13 outdoors in the month of December. In January, he moves to 8-14. He had both gloves on those hands today. Didn't make much of a difference, though, LB.
Hands got a little chilly today,
There's
Danny.
a threshold, and if he meets it weather-wise, he will wear double gloves. He did today. I don't think it helped too much. Goff will be looking to get back on track. Let's talk about this defense. All defensive tackles were active today.
Yes.
To me, that says, hey, we need to win the battle up front first above all else. It wasn't bad. They didn't do an awful job. They were getting to the quarterback. You had sacks from Jalen Reeves-Maybin, Aiden Hutchinson, John Kaminsky. There were 6 quarterback hits alone in the first half. The issue was finishing, missed tackles. Why is Justin Fields so hard to wrangle?
Oh, my God, Danny. We were up there saying that for some reason, they want to go low on Justin Fields, and he's stepping out of tackles. He's breaking tackles with his legs. To me, he's a guy you got to hit him high. He's a mobile guy. He could get out of trouble. If you go low on an athlete, those athletes jump up over you. They're so athletic, they could get around you. So to me, I think we have to attack this guy a little higher in the body frame to be able to get him down. Great runner. Great job against us. And, man, he loves to play the Detroit Lions, doesn't he?
He loves it. I mentioned it. Defensive end John Kaminsky was getting in there on the sack party here today. That was his first sack he registered since, guess, week 4.
Oh, my God.
10 weeks without a John Kaminsky sack. Wow. Yeah, it is lower production. He had 4 sacks all of last season, so there's still time to catch up. But taking a look at what Kaminsky did today, 7 tackles, 7 sack yards, 2 quarterback hits, and 1 TFL. Kaminsky is trying to make up for the loss of Ali McNeil along that interior defensive line who's on IR.
Yes, he did too, Danny. I thought he was all on the field. I thought his pursuit was awesome today. He couldn't be blocked by one person today, and that's what we have to have. You have to have other guys besides Aiden Hutchinson. These guys have to be unblockable. When you get one-on-one blocks, you have to defeat them. That's what John Kaminsky did today. He was all over the field today. And we needed that effort from him, especially, like you say, when you're missing Aleem McNeil and some of the other guys, too.
Detroit was missing the heart of this defense, linebacker Alex Anzalone. Last week in NOLA, he was busy getting a screw put into his right hand. His thumb kept sliding out from the week prior. So Anzalone, he was good to go, did have a small cast on that right hand, wasn't able to fully catch balls. He said that wasn't the most comfortable thing he was able to do today. But the leading tackler on this team, Anzalone, had back-to-back penalties today. Where was he being halted?
Yeah, that was big. That was big, Danny. Those penalties turned out to be big. But, again, I'm glad to have him back. I'm glad to have the guy that wears the green dot back, the guy that can line these guys up, the guy that encourages these guys, the guy that leads them on the defensive side of the ball. We need him. And it was kind of a rough day with him. But look at some of the matchups he had. I mean, Justin Fields and some of the running backs that he had to kind of contain. Cole Kmet. He had his hands full today, but I'm glad he's back. I'd rather have him here than not being here.
Very instinctive. Anzalone was back in coverage, covering guys in the end zone.
Yep.
Yeah, he did a good job, but we mentioned the penalties that definitely hurt him at one point. A rookie that is coming along and is looking more confident every single week is Jack Campbell. Take a look at this. 9 total tackles today. Those are Alex Anzalone numbers. Campbell got the bulk of his load of the season. Last week, when we just mentioned Anzalone was out, where did you see Campbell grow today?
Oh, my God, Danny, going downfield. He was making solid tackles all day. He was going from sideline to sideline. He was penetrating the offensive line and getting in there and really causing a jam up front, helping those defensive linemen. I like him. I like his activity. I like the way he covers. He's a long, lanky guy, but he covers a lot of space. He's going to be really good. He's getting better and better as the season goes along, and I expect him to continue to get better as the season goes along.
Campbell, a really smart, relentless player. Speaking of relentless, Jalen Reeves Maven. He has been relentless the last 2 weeks. Last week, he was named NFC Special Teams Player of the Week for his 4 tackles on special teams. He also got more of a load when Anzalone was out in that linebacker core. Today, he steps up big, a really steady force on 3rd down and got the sack party started. How fun was it to watch Jerm come into his own today?
Oh, my God, Danny, they got to find more playing time for him. And I'm not talking special teams. I'm talking about on the defensive side of the ball. This guy is a tackling machine. He's all over the place. He is so active out there when he's on the field, either special teams or on the defensive side of the field. He really makes things happen. So they're going to have to find more playing time for him. I don't know who's going to have to sacrifice their playing time, but you got to get Jerm, as you call him. You got to get him on the field more.
And that was Jerm's 100th career game and his first full sack. He registered a half sack back in 2017.
Okay.
This was his first full sack. So congrats to Jerm for making waves in that regard. QB1 is standing by at the podium. Let's hear from Jared Goff.
Jared, what can you, I guess, point to most in the second half? The ability to put some points up those final 2 quarters?
Yeah, they did a great job on defense. A lot better job than we did on offense. Simply execution and beating ourselves quite a bit there throughout the game. And yeah, you got to tip your cap to them in some ways. They did a really good job on defense, and we didn't hold up our end at all.
Was there anything they're doing coming out of the bye that caught you guys by surprise?
A couple things, but nothing that should have derailed us as much as it may have. And yeah, it's a good defense. It's well coached, and but we have a good offense, and we're well coached, and we need to play a whole lot better than that.
What happened on the snap, the fumble snap?
Yeah, just a poor exchange. It's on me.
The pass catchers, I mean, just a lot of weird numbers, particularly Sam and Amon-Ra, who've been so reliable for you. 5 catches on, I think, 14 targets, 40 yards. Were they doing anything in particular to take those guys away from you, or was the separation not there? What was going on with those relationships today?
Yeah, again, I think they did a good job on defense, and we didn't quite connect like we'd like to on some of those. And I have to go back and look, but yeah, I thought we had some guys where we'd like to be able to make some plays. I'd like to be able to make some better throws on some of these, and unfortunately we just didn't connect. It happens, and it sucks, and we need to be better.
The frustrating part, the penalties, put yourself in 1st and 15, 3rd and 8. I mean, those are things that you guys can control outside of what they were doing. Was that the frustrating part of the second half?
Extremely frustrating. Yeah, I don't know how many penalties we had, but very uncharacteristic of us. Yeah, we've been, I think, towards the top of the league and pre-snap stuff, and and penalties in general. And I think today was not indicative of who we are or who we plan to be, and yes, discipline stuff, unfortunately, and learn from it and get better.
Earlier this week, you talked about playing with a level of urgency. When we talked to Dan, he came here today. He said you guys like discipline. I guess these last 3-4 games coming on the season, what's the level you got, the confidence that you guys can clean it up and get it right, and just that discipline aspect as well from your perspective?
Yeah, a ton of confidence that we're going to clean it up. A little adversity isn't the worst thing in the world at this point in the year, and this is sure it. I don't think by any means, like, I'm not sitting here saying like that's a bad team because their record. That's a good team, and they played really well and they beat us. But it's a little reality check. Going, okay, like, look in the mirror, fix it, and we got some time here to in the next 4 games. So it starts with Denver, but to get it fixed and to get geared up for our ultimate goals, and yeah, it's a good gut punch that typically does our guys well.
Good.
Good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jared.
Saint, great game. Is that the best catch you've ever made?
Actually, there was one better.
When? The Chicago game?
Minnesota?
No, getting Cure Auto Insurance.
Are you for real?
Seriously, when I got here in Michigan, car insurance was the worst. But saving up to 40% by switching to Cure was my best catch.
Cure Auto Insurance. Drive well.
Detroit Lions Live is brought to you by Cure Auto Insurance. Log on to cure.com to see how you can save. Detroit Lions will certainly have to have some urgency here in the month of December. We keep talking about it, but this is the most important month in the NFL. Dan Campbell keeps mentioning it. Jared Goff's going to keep mentioning it as well. When you look at this final game, across the board, Lomas, what is your final takeaway from it?
Well, I mean, a lost opportunity, Danny. That's how I'm going to look at it. It's a lost opportunity, especially like you saying, this time of the year. December is the clutch time of the year. Like I said, you look for your teams to get better at this time of the year. You look for them to execute at this time of the year. And you also know you're going to play better teams at this time of the year. It's kind of disturbing that we kind of been going back and forth with our team over these last couple of weeks. Again, what Dan Campbell and Jared Goff just said is getting back to the chalkboard, getting back out to practice and trying to remedy some of these problems we have. I do think that we can do that because some of these things have been self-inflicted for us. So if we could get back in there and clean up some of the things that we've been lacking on or uncharacteristically been doing these last few weeks, we should be all right, Danny, but we got to do it now. It has to start now.
It's a short timeline for these Detroit Lions. Saturday, Denver Broncos head to Detroit for an 8:15 kick in prime time. So another opportunity for these Detroit Lions to show what they are made of and, you know, show off some more grit. Hopefully not a gritty comeback, but definitely show off some more grit. Head coach Dan Campbell will be going up against his mentor in Sean Payton, head coach of the Broncos. So that'll be a great matchup. What do these Detroit Lions need to focus on, number one, this week when they prepare for Broncos?
Well, we know we're going to face a Russell Wilson guy. That's a guy that never gives up. Like you say, Sean Payton is his head coach. Dan Campbell knows all about Sean Payton. Those guys are going to come in here expecting to win. They're going to come in playing the Detroit Lions really hard. They want to know where they measure up at. And I think that's what teams look at Detroit as a measuring stick. Where are we measured up against these guys? So I know Denver's probably going to look excited about coming in there, especially after this loss we took today. Short week like you're talking about. So we're going to see which team is going to be better prepared on this short week, Denver Broncos or the Detroit Lions at home.
Detroit Lions 9-4, so that 10th win of the season will have to wait. They got to get 10. They're going to get 10.
Danny,
They're going to get 10.
Okay, all right.
They're going to get 10.
Okay.
Don't you do that to me, LB.
I'm with you.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Detroit Lions Live post-game show from Chicago, Illinois. We're inside Soldier Field. We are now heading back home to Detroit. Detroit hosting Denver this coming Saturday. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.